and welcome to the Diamond Report for Monday, July 10th, 2017. This is your host, Doug Diamond. It's currently 11:39 p.m. and we are looking at some headlines on InfoWars. So let's go through those and then read a few more headlines and have a little commentary and then talk about some earthquakes. Israel attacks Soros for fueling mass unrest behind the curtain. Well, that's what he does. He is the wizard behind the curtain, but we all know who the wizard is. Toto has pulled back the curtain. CNN succumbs to meme warfare. I like this picture. It's got the Make America Great Again hat on top of the Death Star. That's hilarious. Good Photoshop work there. Racist? Macron says African women are having too many babies. Yeah, well, he's a white liberal, so he gets a pass. He can say that, and the press, no one in the mainstream media will hold him accountable because he's one of them. He's a globalist. He can say what he wants. If he was Donald Trump, could you imagine the outrage at a comment like that? I mean, it would be wall to wall. We wouldn't hear about anything else if Donald Trump said that African women are having too many babies. Could you imagine? Watch live, Trump the peace president. Well, he might be the peace president for this moment, but I don't think it's going to last. And of course, he's not really the peace president because he's already sent missiles into Syria and killed a bunch of people. So saying he's the peace president is really a stretch in my book. A 21-year-old man has a baby, and doctors say womb transplants for men will soon be possible. It's from Michael Snyder of The End of the American Dream. Moral laws are just as real as scientific laws, and when we willingly ignore them, we do so at our own peril. Comey bombshell, FBI directors leaked Trump memos contained classified information. Yeah, I know, that's a big shocker for you, I'm sure. James Comey is about to be investigated for the exact same thing which he absolved Hillary Clinton of doing last summer. Now, do you suppose he will be held accountable? I'm not going to bet any money on it, that's for sure. This story is on Zero Hedge. Europe's mass migration, the leaders versus the public. That's on the Gatestone Institute. A report, Russian lawyer secured Trump Tower meeting by promising dirt on Hillary Clinton. Trump Jr. and Kushner acknowledged on Saturday that the meeting took place. That's on the Daily Caller. Orban says EU following Soros's migrant plans. Claim the EU and Soros wish to bring in 1 million migrants annually. That's on Breitbart. Orban sounds like he's exactly right to me. Mo Brooks in the Senate ad says, fund President Trump's border wall or face government shutdown. That's on Breitbart. Trump, knowledgeable and skillful negotiator, says Putin's spokesman after win-win G20 talks. Russians dismiss claims of Trump's incompetence as delusional trash. That's on RT. Obama returns to politics. Desperate Dems turn back to failed figurehead. It's on WAPO. I don't think Obama actually left politics. CNN silent on claims it hired Al-Qaeda correspondent. Left-wing website exposes news network for paying correspondent to pal around with terrorists. That's by Paul Joseph Watson. Schlichter, liberals can't deal with a president who takes America's side. Trump loves the United States and acts like it. You know, I will give him that. I think Trump does actually love the United States. And you can say a lot of bad stuff about Trump, and some of it is right, some of it's not. But I don't think anyone out there is saying that Trump doesn't love the United States. Conservative men are the best tippers, survey finds. Liberals and women are less generous. That's from Bloomberg. Charlie Gard's mom says Donald Trump and the Pope have saved his life with dramatic last-minute intervention. That's on the Mirror. Aren't you embarrassed? Conway takes on CNN's fake news in marathon interview. It's about people stating things that they want America to think are facts. You're fired. Trump's VA terminates 500, suspends 200 for misconduct. That's on the Daily Caller. Watch, Zuckerberg gives most accurate interview ever. Be sure to share with your friends on Facebook. He must be going on and on about how great globalism is or something. He has best CIA stuff. WikiLeaks nominates Assange to run Trump's U.S.-Russia cybersecurity unit. Working past 70, Americans can't seem to retire. U.S. seniors are employed at the highest rates in 55 years. Roger Stone says Donald Trump Jr. did his job investigating Hillary and Russia ties. Media attacks on Trump Jr. will fail just like they did with his father. Raging wildfires across California forced nearly 8,000 to evacuate. Quote, "It was terrifying." This is on the LA Times. Flames destroyed homes and threatened thousands of structures across the state. Now, I know it's July. I know it's hot. But folks, you gotta listen. We are in ecosystem meltdown. Global warming is real. I don't care how much you hate those words. I don't care how much you hate Al Gore. It doesn't matter. And I'm not saying he's right. I'm saying it's worse than what he said. Go to geoengineeringwatch.org. Listen to some of Dane Wigington's presentations. He really has his thumb on the pulse of what's happening around the world. CNN claims the G20 protest was, quote, peaceful. Can you believe that? Fake media panics as evidence of Democrat election fraud mounts. While the mainstream media accused Trump of colluding with Russians, it may be Clinton that interfered with the election. You think? That's a John Bound report. Things are so bad in Venezuela that people are rationing toothpaste. A tube of toothpaste costs half a week's wages. Well, that's what the globalists want for us too, not just toothpaste, but shortages everywhere and people killing each other. Oh, and eating zoo animals. Fantastic news, Hillary Clinton to lead Democrats in 2018 midterm elections. The left didn't learn from the 2016 election loss and once again plan on looking to Hillary for leadership. Oregon passes GOP senator's bill allowing gun seizure order without gun owners' knowledge. Creates extreme risk protection order, which forces subject to hand over all firearms as well as concealed carry permit. That's on Breitbart. Sounds to me like they'll just be able to take people's guns anytime they want with no reason whatsoever. So, essentially, the Second Amendment does not count in Oregon. Murderous man-child Kim Jong-un threatens to nuke Japan, South Korea, and the U.S. The North Korean dictator keeps the world on edge with continuous threats. Yes, he does. Many people don't take him seriously. I think he really does want to do all the stuff he's supposedly saying he does. But, you know, there again, we're at the mercy of translators and the media to report accurately the things that he's actually saying. And since when do they get anything right? Ohio poised to allow concealed carry in gun-free zones. That's on the Daily Caller, would represent a far greater expansion of concealed carry permits. Unlike Oregon, who's banning everything that has to do with guns. An expert says Vatican Clinton Foundation worked together to traffic children. Worldwide pedophile rings run by the elite are exposed. That is two very evil entities, the Vatican and the Clinton Foundation. CNN caught in massive new lie, claims violent rioting at G20 was peaceful. The growing sedition of Linda Sarsour, Muslim activist, openly calls for jihad against America. That's a John Bound report. G20, Trump shows true grit despite Soros anarchy. Fake news would hail Chelsea for president. Trump defends Ivanka G20 sit-in. Clinton responds, asking if Trump is giving our country away. Well, she tried to sell our country. Kim Jong-un extremely nervous of possible assassination. North Korean dictator is afraid for his life. That's another John Bound report. Average FICO credit score hits an all-time high. Average national credit score has reached 700 according to FICO. Well, that sounds like somebody is really messing up in the credit scoring department because lots of people can't pay their bills. Trump presses congressional Republicans to pass healthcare plan. Well, my stance on that is we should totally do away with Obamacare, repeal it all, and don't replace it with anything. We don't need a national healthcare plan when there's no health in healthcare, especially when Big Pharma is involved. Spicer says CNN's Acosta is making a spectacle of journalism. That's on the Daily Caller. Bernie says GOP healthcare bill 9 times worse than 9/11. Sanders continues using extreme rhetoric to stir up his supporters. BLM's sickening response to the NRA's Dana Loesch. Violent leftists freak out over patriotic NRA commercial. Number of malware on decline while complexity of attacks increase. The AV test data counted 127.5 million malware samples in 2016. Trump says Congress wouldn't dare leave without beautiful healthcare bill. I don't know what he's drinking, but it ain't beautiful. Nevada dispensaries running out of marijuana. Governor steps in. Senate confirms Trump's regulatory czar, often referred to as the most powerful government office no one's ever heard of. That's on the Hill. Well, and I would say, too, that it's probably 100% unconstitutional. Space Marines. Congressional committee proposes creation of U.S. Space Corps. It would function as an extension of the Air Force, similarly to the Marine Corps does the Navy. That sounds like we're developing Starfleet Academy. Justice willed Hillary to collapse. Hillary's literal collapse was an omen. New research shows Guccifer 2.0 files were copied locally. DNC not hacked by the Russians. That's on Zero Hedge. On the Gatestone Institute, Merkel migrant blowback begins. Chechen Sharia police terrorize Berlin. And from shtfplan.com, tech billionaires prepare for cyber warfare. Quote, nothing is safe from prying eyes and theft, and it's about to get worse. There's a dark side to our species. This is what people fear the most in societal collapse, and it isn't hunger, disease, or exposure. U.S., India, and Japan stage largest joint drills to address maritime security threats. That's on RT. Seabreeze. U.S. sends missile warships and Navy SEALs to massive war games off Ukraine coast. China and Russia alliance deepens against American overstretch. Trump cannot improve relations with Russia when Trump's government and the U.S. media oppose improved relations. That's from Paul Craig Roberts. A year ago today, Seth Rich was murdered, and his death is still being covered up. That's from thefreethoughtproject.com. It's totally insane how that whole thing went down, and I don't know that we'll ever know the truth. Speaking of totally insane, deteriorating mental faculties, time for Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, and John McCain to step down. That's on Freedom Outpost. The UK government now requires all newborns to receive the deadly Hexa vaccine. X22 report, did Putin and Trump just signal the end of the globalists? No. Mainstream media runs with claim of Russia hacking nuclear plants, despite admitting to zero evidence. That's on Activist Post. Shocking new statistics reveal millennial strokes are surging. That's on Natural News. How CNN poisoned the minds of Americans and destroyed media credibility for the next decade. Court affirms citizens have the right to defend themselves against police brutality. Albuquerque police call spying tech so secret they can't even say they have it. According to Alex Jones and others, the Albuquerque Police Department is one of the most corrupt police departments in the entire country. Child abuse victims sue government over deal given to pedophile Epstein. South Korea unveils new submarine in show of force against North Korea. Merkel stayed in 4,075-pound hotel room while exhausted German police sleep on the streets. Canada legalizes euthanasia for arthritis. What's next? That's on Natural News. And on Zero Hedge, Obama returns to political spotlight with speech on gerrymandering. Stock market tsunami siren goes off. That's on wolfstreet.com. If prescription medicine is such a modern scientific feat, why do Americans who are on medications remain the sickest people? That's on Natural News. Well, that's what I said earlier. There is no health in healthcare, especially when Big Pharma is involved. Exposed. Bust in. Baltimore protesters promote violent revolution in America. George Soros' Open Society Foundation is entrenched in our political system. That's on Zero Hedge. Long Island cops investigate whether Jesus is a hate crime. That's on Breitbart. Chinese expert says Trump is showing tactical brilliance in dealing with China and North Korea. Trump and Putin up against the U.S. deep state. That's on Sputnik News. Well, that might be to some degree, but I can tell you the deep state is the system, and the House, just like in Las Vegas, always wins. A recession has always followed. This is the real reason the Fed is suddenly panicking. That's on Zero Hedge. Rothschild-controlled media outlet says get ready for a world currency by 2018. That's on the Free Thought Project. Former ambassador warns the day of reckoning could come sooner than anyone thinks. Council on Foreign Relations study may indicate a false flag grid-down scenario is on the horizon. That's on All News Pipeline. Janet Yellen goes on the record, the Fed's pulling the plug this year. We're going to have the third and worst crisis in 20 years. Why an attack on North Korea could trigger a devastating implosion of the U.S. economy. It's by Mike Adams on Natural News. Linda Sarsour defends her call to jihad, blames xenophobes and conservative media for defamation campaign. That's on the Gateway Pundit. Breaking, California legislature legalizing marriage to children of any age. That's from Dave Hodges. And also from Dave, Hillary Clinton is destroying the Democratic Party. So what? Who cares? I mean, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are essentially the same thing at the federal level. Pence is quickly becoming Trump's biggest threat. And I mentioned the earthquake update tonight would be very brief, and it will be. Right now we're looking at the last 48 hours of magnitude roughly 5.0, maybe 4.5 and greater worldwide. And we've got some new quakes. These white rings, or the light-colored rings, are the newest quakes. The darker pink ones are a little bit older, but we're still just looking at 48 hours. We've got some new 5.0s, well, one in the Kyushu region of southern Japan, and some new ones over here in Indonesia. This one is, yeah, basically right on Sumatra. And we do have an interesting quake here, 5.0 up here in Algeria. It's actually off the coast. It's in the water, in other words, but that's kind of a strange place for a 5.0. That's peculiar, I think. So Algeria, and then we have this one down here at the Ascension Islands region, 5.2. And over here, another 5, this is 5.6, over near Easter Island. That's not all that unusual. It's a little bit unusual, but not extremely. And this Ascension Island quake isn't really that unusual. But this one up here at Algeria is a little strange, because normally we see larger quakes out here in, say, the Middle East, and then they filter westward and they get smaller as they hit Europe. But we've got a 5.0 out here in the area near Spain. So that's something that we'll keep an eye on. And otherwise, I don't really see a lot else that's drastically different and worthy of reporting. So that's it for the Diamond Report tonight. Thanks for listening and watching, and I will see you tomorrow.